Okay, so we talked about passive and active transport. Now I've got, guys, the cheesiest of demonstrations here, and I'm at home, so I didn't have a whole lot to work with, but I've got a glass bowl with some water in it and just some food coloring. I'm going to drop that food coloring. I hope you can see that. I'll drop some food coloring on the right hand side of this bowl here. All right. Let's see if I can. So you can see, I guess, a little bit of that. All right. So you can see these food coloring particles are just going to gradually, naturally, I'm not doing anything to that bowl. They're going to gradually just migrate from the side of higher concentration over on the right. We'll speed this up just a little bit. We'll add just a little bit more, a little higher concentration. So I guess for you guys, is that your left to right? Yeah. So it's moving from this side. And those molecules are just going to naturally migrate over throughout this system as if this was the cytoplasm within a cell. Okay. So those molecules are going to move from higher concentration to lower concentration. We'll just let that hang out there and do its thing. And that's what we're saying here. So this is not, don't think about this necessarily as left to right in this diagram from your text. This is talking about from higher concentration here on one side of what they call the extracellular fluid. Those molecules are naturally going to want to migrate through the cell wall or through the plasma membrane into the cytoplasm of the cell. And so as time progresses, going from left to right here on this diagram, those molecules are going to move their way across the membrane into the cytoplasm of the cell. And then over time, if those molecules, whatever is concentrated in the extracellular fluid, if it can pass through the membrane, you'll reach a point to where you have as much concentrated, as high a concentration in the cytoplasm as you do outside of the cytoplasm, if these molecules have a way to move across the membrane. That's what we call diffusion. Diffusion is a process where a substance moves from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration, which hopefully you can see. I don't know how good this video is going to be, but figured, we can give that a try. All right, so you can kind of see I'm starting to pick up a little more of a reddish pink color just naturally. I'm being careful to not bump that or move my desk too much here and just let it naturally do its thing. Now, there are a couple of factors a couple of technical terms we need to talk about here for diffusion. One is what we call the gradient. Gradient is when the concentration is higher at one location, providing the potential for diffusion. So that's when we say there's a gradient, that means that diffusion can occur if you allow it to. If we talk about a thermal gradient, sometimes you'll hear weathermen talking about a thermal gradient. That means you've got a potential for the higher temperature air to move to a location of lower temperature air. And if it occurs too rapidly and you get circulation, then we get tornadoes. Equilibrium is when the concentration is equal throughout, all parts, and there's no net transport. That doesn't mean transport doesn't occur. Once this reaches equilibrium, once these color molecules reach equilibrium with the other space within the water, that doesn't mean they're not still moving around. Those molecules still move around, but that there's as many moving this way as there is that way. In the case of a cell membrane, right, if I go back a slide here, when we reach this equilibrium point, there's as many molecules moving into the cell as there are molecules moving out of the cell across the membrane. That's what we call equilibrium. And that's going to have to serve as a stopping point for this one. All right, pick up on the next one.